Hi folks, it's the 30th of October 2025 and this is my forecast for November for 2025. It's going to be a sporadic month. There's going to be times of quiet and then there's going to be times where it's going to be going absolutely monkey poo. So let's have a look and see what's coming up. The month starts quietly for the first 48 hours. And then we get into the 3rd and especially the 4th of November. Now the 3rd and 4th of November are going to be very much days influenced by Mars. Mars will be at 29 degrees of Scorpio over the 2nd and 3rd, 4th of November. But in the 4th, in the morning UK time of the 4th of November, Mars will trine Neptune. And then just after midday, Mars will move into Sagittarius and then immediately oppose Uranus. So within 24 hours, Mars will trine Neptune, move into Sagittarius and oppose Uranus. And then within 24 hours of that, it will sextile Pluto. So this period of 3, 4, 5 November, definitely Mars energy. And most of it, has to be said, is pretty good. Mars opposite Uranus is somewhat contentious. There's likely to be more technological outages at that time. But with Mars sextile Pluto and trine Neptune, as well as moving into Sagittarius, a sign that I think it's quite comfortable in, I don't see this as being a long-term or a large-scale thing. Now, this is immediately followed on the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day in the UK, where we celebrate blowing up Parliament, or trying to blow up Parliament, or depending which side of the aisle you're on, we celebrate the capture of the conspirators who tried to blow up Parliament. On the 5th of November at 1:20 in the afternoon, it is the once every year annual Taurus full moon. Now this is not that big a deal. It's not aspecting any other planets in the sky, but it is part of a 6-month cycle where the new moons and the full moons are following the same degrees. The pattern of the moon at the moment is in a regular orbit, which is quite an unusual thing. As we get into the end of the first week of November, the only significant thing developing is that Venus will move in from Libra into Scorpio on the 6th of November. So the first week of November is primarily all about Mars and a relatively quiet full moon. But then we get into the second week of November and things start speeding up. Now it's still relatively quiet, but the thing is there's a lot of background, underground changes. What do I mean by this? On the 8th of November, Uranus will retrograde back from Gemini back into Taurus. On the 9th of November, Mercury will go retrograde. On the 11th of November, Jupiter will go retrograde. On the 10th of November, myself, Alex Trenoworth and Rick Levine are doing this gig in central London. And all the details are in the box underneath this video. And we've sold maybe a third to a half of the tickets in the first 4 days since we announced it. So if you want to come along, there's still tickets at the moment. Details in the box underneath. As we get towards the end of the second week of November, Mercury is retrograde at the start of Sagittarius, conjunct Mars on the 12th. Now, what's really unusual about this, Mercury conjuncts Mars normally once every 18 months. But because of Mercury's movement forward, backward, forward again, backward again, early next year, forward again, Mercury and Mars are going to conjunct each other 5 times between mid-October and mid-April in 5 different signs of the zodiac. So this is a fascinating journey, and this is my theme for the Shifts Happen talk on the 10th of November. Alex is going to be talking about Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, and the radical changes of Uranus. And Rick Levine, God bless his cotton socks, is going to be talking about what is real, the state of illusion, nebulousness, and what is real and what is augmented. What is reality these days? Should be a great evening. I digress. As we get out of the 12th of November, there is a lull. It's a calm. It's a calm before the storm. 3 or 4 days, 13, 14, 15, 16 November, where very little is happening. 16th, 17th of November, we'd all be forgiven for thinking, actually, it's quite a nice time. 16, 17, 18 November, Sun trine Jupiter, Sun trine Saturn, Mercury sextile Pluto. Then we get to the 19th. On the 19th of November, Mercury retrogrades into Scorpio backwards. And it immediately will oppose Uranus at 29 degrees of Taurus. This is both on the 19th of November. Mercury will also trine Neptune. On the 20th of November, it is the once every year annual Scorpio new moon at 28 degrees and 12 minutes of Scorpio. Now this is happening on the 20th, the same time as the sun and the moon together will be conjunct Mercury and the last degrees of Scorpio, all of them opposite Uranus, all of them trine Neptune, all of them loosely sextile Pluto. Sun conjunct Moon conjunct Mercury. Nice enough. 28, 29 degrees Scorpio. That's a bit ominous. Sextile Pluto on a scale of 1 to 10, that's about 6. That's nice. That's going to bring opportunities for psychological growth and change, both collectively and individually. And with the Sun, Mercury, Moon trine Neptune, there's going to be an element of spiritual, intuitive, sensual energy around. So you think, great, what's the problem? Here's the problem. Over the 19th and 20th, Mercury and then the Sun and the Moon and Mercury all together on the 20th will be opposite Uranus. Uranus brings radical change. Sometimes for the better, sometimes not. And with the Sun and the Moon opposite Uranus, and Mercury opposite Uranus, and Mercury's like the baby brother of Uranus. If Mercury deals with daily communication, the way you read, write, think, speak and move, communication with yourself intellectually, with others verbally and by text and phone, and with other people in your environment by short-term travel, Uranus deals with space travel, the internet, large-scale global communications and futuristic communications. So I strongly suspect that around that new moon on the 19th and 20th, there's going to be a great deal of hype and spin. There's going to be a lot of bluster. There's likely to be some pretty sudden and dramatic announcements and changes in the world we live in. Now, because there's a lot of Scorpio energy here at the end of Scorpio, and because Uranus is at 29 degrees Taurus, which in the ancient Arabic, the Arabs who were traveling from the Levant to Morocco over the 4th to the 7th century BCE, AD, ACE, Common Era, they were formulating more and more constellations and the Arabic parts, and they called 29 degrees Taurus the degree of blindness. Now, this is obviously not to suggest that everyone with planets at 29 degrees Taurus goes blind. Although it is surprising how many people with the Sun or Moon at 29 degrees of Taurus wear glasses from a very early age. I think the blindness is as much metaphorical, in fact more metaphorical than it is personal. And with the Sun and Moon and Mercury opposite Uranus on the 19th, 20th of November, there's going to be a collective blindness to what's really going on in the world. There may be some big actions taken at that time, and various levels of politicians will go, oh no, nothing happening here. Ignore it. Don't. The 19th, 20th of November is a critical time because it's going to give clear signals as to what is coming to an end and what is about to be birthed. Watch that time. There's something coming at that time, and it's going to potentially have signals and shock waves for the long-term future. Add to that also on the 20th, Uranus in the sky is sextile Neptune. This happens 3 times in a year, every 150 years. It's positive, but unusual. Then we get into the 22nd of November. The Sun moves into Sagittarius. Mercury is retrograde, trining Jupiter and Saturn. The Sun sextiles Pluto, and we get towards the end of the month when we hit the 28th, Saturn stands still and stops going retrograde. And a large number of people, especially the people born in the last week of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces, will all draw a breath and go, oh, now we can make movements forward. But the day after Saturn stops going retrograde, on the 28th, on the 29th, Mercury stops going retrograde. Now, it will still stay in its retrograde shadow through to the middle of December. But most of this month, from the 9th to the 29th, Mercury is retrograde. This is quite a short Mercury retrograde. It suggests that Mercury is a lot closer to the Earth than it normally is in its retrograde pattern. It goes from 7 o'clock on the 9th, 7 p.m. on the 9th, to 5:30 p.m. on the 29th. So it's just less than 20 days. The average Mercury retrograde is 24 to 26 days. This is a short one, but it's likely to be a strong one. And because it's taking place over that incredibly strong new moon, and it's opposite Uranus at the time of the new moon, it suggests to me that we're not going to get a clear, lucid consensus on what's happening until December. But there are going to be some very interesting events around the 18th, I'll cover myself, 18th to 21st, that are going to set tongues wagging, and that's going to go, what? No one saw that coming. And all of the economists and the bankers and the politicians and the priests will all go, yeah, nothing going on here. Ignore it. Don't. So yeah, Mercury retrograde most of the month. Can't believe I'm doing a big gig in the centre of London on a Mercury retrograde. But then the planets impel, they don't compel. And I find I'm really beginning to realise, after 45, nearly 50 years of doing this, that the easy aspects make you complacent and lazy. You do things on the hard aspects. Sometimes it backfires spectacularly, but the majority of the time, you do things when the going is tough in the sky, you get results if you're doing it with the right intention. So you're never going to get a chance again to see Rick Levine and Steve Judd and Alex Trenauer in a London private cinema. Well, you know, we might do it again next year, but then there's another announcement coming. I can't do it quite yet. Give me another week for the members and 3 weeks for the world. I will have a big announcement about big gigs next year. Can't do it yet. This month is sporadic. There's periods of real quiet, the very start of the month, and then the period of, say, the 12th through to the 16th. But the period of the 18th to the 21st is going to be crazy. And then it calms down from the 23rd onwards to the end of the month. I suppose the ancient Chinese had it best. May you live in interesting times. Just remember that everything that's going on is all part of a long-term process which will culminate initially in terms of the challenges with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in February. And then we're through the bottleneck. Then I expect some really interesting and hopefully positive manifestations globally to start coming through. At the moment, the shock and awe, the hyperbole, the bovine scatology, we live in crazy but interesting times. Stay safe over that Scorpio new moon. Don't take risks at that time. Catch you later, world. Bye.